the questions I get the most is, well, how much does all the different sources of water cost? And it's an interesting question because over the years we've developed these different supplies. And so you imagine there's two major components to the cost of a supply. There's the fixed component. That's that cost, for example, to build Bradbury Dam. That's what holds back and creates Cachuma, right? There's Gibraltar. What did it take to build those? Well, we built those, 60, 70 years ago or more. So it's hard to really assess what those capital costs. Desal, we're developing that. I just said the capital costs of that are $55 million, so we know what that is. What is its lifespan? Well, we think it's at least 20 years. It may be more for that investment. So there's the fixed component, and then there's the operational costs. And so for ease, I like to focus on the operational costs, particularly assuming, okay, we've spent the $55 million. It's a foregone conclusion. You can't go back and get it back. So now you've made that investment. What does it cost to operate it as it relates to your other supplies? And so from that standpoint, desal water is going to cost us around $1,400 an acre foot. That includes electricity, chemicals, labor, kind of the whole thing. We have recycled water, which most people are fascinated to find this out, but that's typically our most expensive source of water outside of desal. It costs us about $1,200 an acre foot for recycled water. And the irony to that is that we turn around and the only way to get people to use recycled water is to sell it for less than potable water. And so we create it and sell it at a loss. But we do that because it helps free up our more valuable potable water supplies. That's one of the nuances that most people don't realize about recycled water. It's really actually fairly expensive water, given that it only is being used for grass or something. It's really challenging. But it requires quite a bit of treatment to get it up to that level. Then we go to our groundwater, and it depends with your groundwater where it comes from. We have some wells in town that you basically pump it out of the ground, add a little bit of chlorine, and it's good. You can deliver it to customers. Other water we bring up is high in iron and manganese and sulfides, which are not health hazards, but they're kind of undesirable things that they turn your water reddish. They smell like rotten eggs, those kind of things. And so we built a treatment plant to take those out. That water cost about $900 an acre foot. The stuff that comes out of the ground and we just add chlorine is about $150 an acre foot. So you're trying to get some of the costs. And then we have water from Cachuma and Gibraltar. That's about $300 an acre foot for that water. And then finally state water. And so as I mentioned, I purchased state water during the drought. It's roughly about $1,500 an acre foot. In general, if you look at the overall cost of it, state water has really ranged anywhere from $1,000 to $2,000 an acre foot is typically what that water supply costs. So that's just kind of a spectrum of the different supply costs. If there's a benefit to that, it allows the city to have a very nice inclined rate structure. The way we establish that rate structure is we basically take our cheapest supply, say it's our groundwater that comes up, it doesn't require much treatment. We'll say, okay, the community, our council has said the priority for our community is basic health and safety. They will get the cheapest water we have. And so that's how we kind of come up with their costs. And then we'll go on, okay, what's the next customer class? And we have all these different customer classes, commercial, irrigation, all this stuff. And as we go, we'll start using our supplies and they'll get more and more expensive. And so you end up with this nice inclining rate structure that encourages conservation. The more water you use, the higher price you pay for it. And that kind of establishes that curve. And it's all part of, we're required by law that we can only charge the cost of service. So in my line of business, I can't bring in a profit that's been deemed illegal. And so I have to just recover my cost of operating. And so that tiered structure, there's been a lot of discussion about the legalities of tiered structures, but it's been probably the #1 tool that has helped our community conserve.